Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Hey, just wanted to bring on one of my friends here, a awesome real estate coach at New Jersey and Florida. I think y'all are all going to love to get to meet. And excuse me, I say New Jersey and New York. You're going to love meeting him and everything, and learning more about his story and everything. He's such an inspirational guy. Always great time to be around and everything. I learned something from him, and I'm inspired every time we talk. So hang on. I think it's going to be a great conversation. And before you get started, let me get you tags on here just a
I'm with
second.
you, brother. I'm here, and I want to say, man, that it's a hell of an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk with you and interview with you, man. You are very fast friend, very quick friend, and to to share some of that space with you, man. I am inspired by all of you when we are on those calls together, man. We're talking about building something that hasn't been built before. We're talking about unleashing all of this opportunity for agents out there, and man, it is a pleasure to be working alongside of you. I see you, brother.
Okay, great. Thank you. The feeling is mutual, and it's quite an honor and privilege to be working together to change history in the real estate industry.
Change history in the real estate industry. Yes, yes, that's perfect.
Yes.
Um,
So, second, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. I already mentioned
I'm,
where you're from. You've been around for a long time, and you have a track record of coaching people. I was reading
dude,
your
man,
bio.
I earned every ounce of gray in this beard, man. I 25 years in the industry. Um, Started as an agent in like a little independent in northeastern New Jersey. We were in the Hoboken market. It's a 1 square mile market, and I did I failed miserably the first couple of years I was a real estate agent. I've always been great and excelled at any job that I've been a part of.
Mhm.
So I came into the real estate industry thinking that it was going to be just a really great job, and the cold reality of running a business sort of kicked in, and I was resistant to it in the beginning, man. And it wasn't until that resistance went away and I started operating like a business that it really started taking off for me. I've done every model that you can possibly imagine, from the independent real estate business to the big box, franchise. And I'll tell you this: it's not about the size of the brand, man. It's about the brand in your heart. You know what I mean? It's about the business and the agent. And
Right. Well, yeah, we are the brand, so
yeah, yeah. And so I started coaching agents probably about maybe 12 to 15 years ago. I was running an office, and in order to run the office, you had to really motivate the agents, and I couldn't figure it out. I was being coached by an awesome coach, Tony D'Souza, and Rita George was my manager, and they were just like, "There's not a single problem in your office that can't be solved with a little good, recruiting and lead generation." And I leaned in on the lead generation. I was really good at it. I can get on the phones and I could contact people. I could convert on the phones. So all I did all day long in my office as the manager, as the broker, was lead generate with the agents. Pick up the phone, dial, lead generate with the agents.
now when
And
you started doing that, was that prior to all the technology we have today? Kind of
oh
the
yeah,
more old
oh yeah, man.
school.
I had one phone here, and one phone on speaker, and I was just dialing and going. And then so like the agents got a big kick out of me getting shot down. Like it was the failure show. It was in my opinion Earth's first reality real estate show.
You know what?
And
I find is the people that have been rejected the most are the most successful.
exactly. And they would gather around, man. They like the office. So there were three different offices that we had in three different cities, two different cities, and all these cities are close together, within a mile of each other. And during lead gen time, 8 a.m. to noon, the agents from the other offices would come to my office and just sit there and just like listen to me like fail miserably. But it was awesome because we would have a good time. And that just sort of started to spread, and as the technology approached and as the technology started to grow, we would use Mojo, and we would have script practice, and we would have like waffle day at script practice, and it was just all the activity was centered around lead gen. And we, as an independent agency, I was with Liberty at the time. We had the number one agency in the county. We were doing more deals than the franchises. We were doing more deals than the other boutiques. We were kicking ass and taking names. And during that time, I helped to build the office from like 75 agents to over 350 agents, and
Wow.
we were the largest of the independents. We were the largest of the little guys. And we've just done. I've wash, rinse, repeat everywhere I go, Chris. Like, I don't know how to do anything else but produce.
I was just curious, how did they compensate you for attracting agents back then?
Oh man, there was no compensation, man. I literally was
Not even a Starbucks gift card.
I was rewarded with the brag points, right? This is my guy Sekou, he's the man, and hey, and the broker at the time is a dude named Joe Carvello. I love him to death. I think he's still a broker at the time, right? It's still a broker, right? And he used to have a tagline, "Ching, baby." And every time he would see me, he'd point at me, be like, "Ching, baby, let's go," because I'm making that money. And then later on, I was in the private equity with them, and I made a ton of money with them. So, but there was no agent compensation at the time. It was like $150 if I like recruited a whale at the time, and me and the top producing agents in the office would compete for those $200. Like, you get $100 for being the number one recruiter, $100 for being the number one listing agent, and $100 for being a number one sales agent. And before I was the broker, I would compete.
Yeah,
those $300 bragging rights.
Yeah, I know you're competitive.
Highly competitive. Where'd you get your start, Chris?
So I got my start. I've been in real estate. I've been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area all this time, and I kind of almost call myself an accidental realtor. Mm-hmm. So I had left corporate America, was already started in real estate by investing passively in some multifamily syndications. Mm-hmm. Then I didn't have enough capital to do that living full time post corporate America, so I started flipping some houses and seller financing, rentals, wholesale, just whatever I could, just to make some money and try to break free from the shackles of working for other people.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I had this brilliant idea. It's like I told my wife, it's like, hey, you ought to get your real estate license, it improve the profitability of
his last words.
So she kind of shook her head and said, okay, and everything. I follow up with her where, like, hey, how are you coming on working on that license or classes? Like, oh, I haven't yet. So eventually I figured, like, this is probably not going to happen, or it's like pushing a string. So I just said, I'll just go and get my own license, and I'm going to be my only client doing that. And I failed miserably at that goal.
Yeah.
But so I started off at a flat fee shop. It was 100%. And I did some of my own deals, but I soon learned that, as far as other production, 100% of nothing's nothing.
Yeah.
And my mentor left about 4 or 5 months into my tenure there. I liked her a lot, still do. And so I followed her to her next brokerage, which is a little independent boutique and everything, much better environment and everything. And did about 10 months into my career as an agent, I discovered EXP, and the rest is history. And this is my permanent home.
What's funny, Chris, is that, so I've always, this is interesting. And I'm today years old. I'm smacking myself in the head. I've always gone to brokerages where I had a split. I've never been at 100% from the door house. And I think it's because of that competitive nature. I like capping. Like, I like getting to the point where I'm like, what? Like, today I did it. Like, and everywhere I go, I cap. So it's not like, I'm missing out on money, but I think that's the mentality behind it. Like, I like kicking ass and and the broker saying, and today, Sekou, the first person to cap for the year or something like that, man.
It's even more fun when you get a stock award with it too, right?
Hello, baby. Hello. I was talking to my business partner, and he was like, do you want to you want to go for this particular icon team? And I was like, nah, I don't want to do the icon team, man. I like getting that 16,000 back every single year. So I'll choose not to be an icon team.
It's interesting because I was just having lunch with an agent I'm friends with, and she was just consulting with me about, how to grow your organization, scale it, and all that. And she's like a 6-time icon agent, very successful. And I told her, like, I think a lot of people are a little over focused on the icon award. Yeah, it's a very prestigious, 16,000 and everything, but I get, much more than an icon award every single month and invest immediately. And
yeah,
in terms of cold hard cash. So, I prefer that. And
I'm right there with you, brother.
Sure, I would give that up, but I think if sometimes it's to the detriment of some other priorities and goals.
I'm right there with you, brother. So like the basis, if I may, like sort of talk about like the framework of how I think. I'm a deal a day agent. I'm a deal a day coach. Like, so the only way I know how to coach, the only way I know how to play is to try to put a deal together every single day I'm working. And I make fun. I'm like, I'm the hardest working lazy person in the world. I like stacking my chips and knowing that they're there so that I can kind of take it easy. Like, I don't want to have to be frazzled and running around trying to figure out where my next deal is coming from. I know where my next deal is coming from. I'm going to put it together every single day. And the agents that I coach, they're going to go in one of two directions. They're either going to produce their head off, right? Or they're going to get out from underneath my coaching. So I only coach up or out. That's it. And it's really easy to get out of my coaching. I'm constantly pushing agents out of my coaching. I only keep 40 seats open available every year, and 10 team seats available every year. And I don't make it to the end of the year with all 40 people. But I say this to say that when agents are putting together their business, I don't necessarily think of the real estate game as the real estate game. I think about it like it's a bakery. And if I opened a bakery, I'd have to bake donuts every day, man. Like, it's not like I can take the day off of making donuts. The day you take off is when somebody wants all of your donuts, right?
Yes.
So because the basis is deal a day, there is every single day there's an opportunity for us to grow our business. And that's sort of why the capping structure works so well. In my opinion, why the agent attraction is so important. James Massey said this to me one time when we were doing an interview. James is down in Atlanta. I don't know if you know him. Do you know James?
No, I don't.
I'm going to introduce you. He's I think he's a honey. Yeah, he's a honey badger. James said to me, man, he said, listen, man, I feel a responsibility for every person I attract to this model. And that had such an impact on me, man, because I'm like, James has like over 1,000 people. I don't know what his numbers are big. He's got a lot of folks. And I was talking to somebody who was like maybe on his 10th level. He's not even, on that 7-level stretch. And he was like, yeah. And I was talking to James and and I said, wait, what? He said, yeah, I was talking to James. I was like, that's the responsibility I'm talking about, man. The accessibility that's there. That's the deal a day. That's the black belt mentality. Those are the agents that I want to coach.
Awesome.
Good. I'm sorry. I talk a lot, Chris, man.
Oh, no, I was just taking that in because it's a huge responsibility and you can change people's lives.
Yeah.
So, make sure you're partnering with the right people and, really, I feel incredibly blessed with this opportunity. My life has changed in ways, I can't even really accurately describe it to people. So I just feel an obligation to look for people that are swimming to the boat and try to extend a hand to them. It's definitely not for everyone, but
I got a good friend of mine, David Finale. Dave's been in the business, maybe twice as long as I have, right? And he's a rock star, and I call him real estate royalty. Dave gave me this book over the holidays. He gave me this thing called the Brag Book. And he's like, you've got your journals, you've got your notes and things like that. He was like, all of that seems to be for other people, Sekou. He says, but he says, this Brag Book is for you. He says, every time you hear something about you that is good, put it in the Brag Book. And I accepted it. I was like, okay, thank you. It was cute in my head. But I've been putting stuff in that has been reflective of change that I've been doing with these agents. And man, I got to tell you, that is probably one of my favorite things to do now, is to see about the agents whose lives we've changed, and to see about the agents who's improved or whatever as a result of the coaching, as a result of the support. And I put it in there. There's a young lady in North Carolina. Her name is Lisa Gibbs. And Lisa was a school teacher, and over the pandemic, she quit her job as a school teacher, became a full-time real estate agent, and now Lisa is one of the greatest performing agents in the Triangle area in North Carolina.
Wow, that's exciting. And hey, speaking of bragging, I'm going to brag on you for a minute too, because I was reading up on you a little bit, and I understood at one time, I think you had like half of the top 10 performing agents in your market that were your coaching students?
That's right.
Impressive. How'd you pull that off?
It honestly, man, it was because of those lead generation sessions that I would do. So there were 3 sections. There was the script practice, the lead generation, and then the objection handler. We would do a debrief where we would talk about the objection handlers. And the top producing agents, the agents that became these top producers, didn't have folks to sound off. They didn't have people to practice with. And so because I was doing this, and mind you, failing, right? Because I was getting all these objections and I would just push through, pig-headed discipline. They had somebody that was actually making calls to role play and practice with. And we started to set up on a schedule, and then I started coaching with them. And my coaching ability is reactive, right? Like what most people think coaching is they think it's training. And you go into these sessions with these top producing agents, and their coaches are trying to like give them a curriculum. First this week we're going to do this, and this week. That's not what coaching is, man. You don't go coach with the top coaches in the NFL and learn how to throw the football, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just got certified with Success Enterprises and just came onto the coaching staff with Success. And I had my impression of coaches totally changed after going through that. Because most of these so-called coaches that we have, real estate coaches in the industry, they're really real estate trainers.
Yeah.
They train you to do what worked for them and everything. And
I don't think that's valuable. I think that's valuable for an agent that doesn't know how to do anything, that's learning how to walk. Sure, man, please, by all means, go to a trainer and get that. What I do on a daily basis is I teach you how to run faster. I teach you how to get more points on the board. I shave seconds off of your time. And I'm unreasonable with my expectations of the agents that I work with. And so those top producing agents kept coming back to me over DeVoe, Jamie Daniels, Mike Klein. These folks would come back to me with questions, and the questions would be crazy challenging questions I didn't know the answers to. And so I developed my avatar based on these top producing agents. And as you probably know, when you develop an avatar, then you start to attract that avatar, right? And the quick tip, guys, Anybody that's listening, if you're developing an avatar for your clients and customers, what'll happen is that when you develop the avatar, you start to notice them when they come around you. You start to recognize them when they come around you. And instead of developing the avatar based on all of the positive things that people do, I developed my avatar based on the stuff that most would consider negative. So the number one thing that I recognize in an avatar for my perfect client or customer is they ask me questions I don't know the answers to. So now when I have a client or customer that's got tough questions for me that I don't know the answer to, I'm leaning in because I recognize them as my ideal client or customer.
Awesome.
Running away. Yeah. So that's how I got those top agents. They and I'm expensive as hell, man. Chris, I keep it expensive so I can justify taking one of those seats, man. Those seats are valuable. They're getting 44 calls a year, right? You figure every agent works about 44 weeks a year, and it's a weekly call. And so what I don't want to do on that call is waste the time trying to prove to them that I'm the right person for them. What we're doing on those calls is we're sort of deconstructing their week and getting to the point where we really only have 4 questions that we ask on every freaking call. And it generates business almost immediately. I'd say maybe 6 out of 10 times based on our call, there's probably a deal put together immediately after the call.
Wow. I guess one thing too is like you get them so much involved into role play and the repetitiveness of script playing and all that stuff that they go into the calls with more confidence and less reluctance to make the calls too.
That's true.
Continuation of what they do in their sessions with you. Is that right?
That's true. So using that. So I was a fighter for years. I was, I wasn't a pro, but on the amateur circuit. And one of the things that my coach used to say to me is that we're not getting in the ring to practice your jab. Right? Like we're going to see what your practice has produced when we get in the ring. Right? So when I get on a coaching call with an agent, I don't want to script practice and role play. That you should have been doing all week long. Now let's see what the script practice and role play has produced. It's action, audit, adjust. Every single week is action, audit, adjust. Did you hit those numbers? What were the results that you got? What was the number one thing that got you off the phone? And how do we adjust that so that those things aren't happening to you? Let's get them on a call now and see what they say to you now. And it's crazy.
Yeah, you do your practice with your friends and your coaches and all that, coaching clients, and you go into the battlefield ready to win.
Let's go. So we play how we practice. There's a simple philosophy. This is $1 million worth of coaching right now for any agent that's listening. This is a simple philosophy. If you're not doing a deal, you should be practicing a deal. Done. Yep. So if you are in the throes of complaining that you don't have enough leads or you don't have enough this, you should be practicing putting your leads together. Pick up the phone, fail a lot, practice. And what you'll notice is that as you practice more, as you practice your script more, as you practice in role play, as you put words down on paper, as you write contracts, your not only will your avatar come into focus, but then the deals will come into focus, and you'll recognize the deals when they show up at the beginning versus the stuff that look like deals and are not real. You know what I mean?
One common theme I see in people that don't have enough deal flow and everything is they're not willing to go out and fail enough. It's like you need to be talking to more people. It's like, oh, I've used up all my sphere of influence. Well, go widen your sphere. Go talk to more people.
Right.
Fail more, fail harder. Because there's just like, I've run into so many walls in this business overall, and I don't even care about the times I failed. It's just the ones that say yes and that have changed my life, and keep me moving forward.
Dude, you said something pivotal, man. I once again, Chris, I'm apologizing ahead of time, man. I'm unreasonable with my expectations, right? And so I think if you're soft on somebody, you're being cruel to somebody. I'm not mean, but I'm also not soft, right? Softness is meanness, right? And so when somebody says to me that they've gone, and I hear that so often, Chris. I know you're a coach because that is something that only a coach hears, right? That I've gone through my whole COI. I don't know what I'm like. It's impossible to go through your COI, and they're like, no, I've gone through my whole sphere. I've gone through my whole circle. I'm like, they don't deserve to be your circle if they're not giving you business. So what you've done is you've gone through, I would argue, most of your contacts, but you have not gone through your sphere. They need to go from contact to sphere. And they go to, what do you mean by that? I'm like, everybody in your phone is a contact, right? Like they're possible opportunity. But it's only when they have some sort of communication with you about your business and growth that they should become your sphere. That's the word influence. And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah. So every list I have is 90% no. Even my contact list, even people that know me and love me in my phone, it's still 90% no. And that 90% is setting me free because now I have a 10% number. I know exactly how I can grow by adding overall, add to your contact base, and then it'll spit out, X amount of deals a year.
Kind of reminds me, the first time I ever got exposure to that kind of philosophy was when I got out of college. I did so in the midst of a recession, and things were pretty tough and everything. And I remember reading some book. I think it might have been "What Color Is Your Parachute." Don't quote it, but it basically talked about this guy who actually wallpapered his room with rejection letters. It's like, let's see how many rejection letters we can collect, because you do enough of them, somebody's going to say yes. And so, it's really just about, obviously we want to always improve our effectiveness at communication, improve our conversion rate. But the other key element is to talk to more people.
Yeah.
And, most of us aren't reaching enough people.
Well, so there's been a phenomena in the last maybe 5 years, maybe a little longer, but I've seen it solidify in the last 5 years, where you have agents who are willing to lead generate, who are willing to do the calls, right? But what they want to do is leverage the calls out to their ISA part, and so they want to leverage that out, and it's the part they want to leverage that out. Kyle Whistle said something important to me it was just a matter of fact statement that he made. He's like, you don't outsource your main thing. And so lead generation is your income. That's your main thing, right? That's what makes you all of your money is lead generation. It's not showing, it's not this, it's not that. It's lead generation. How do I meet new people that leads to more communication?
I was at the many marketing companies that have hit me up like, why would, that's one of our main roles in business is lead generation. Why do one outsource it? If you're so great at it, why don't you go sell houses yourself?
That's it, right? Yeah, like why are you calling for me, right? And so I say to agents all the time, I'm like, if you want to convert more deals, practice starting more deals, right? Today's contacts are tomorrow's leads, are tomorrow's deals. Stop trying to convert for today. Build your pipeline, invest in the future. The bakery analogy is this, that the donuts that are in front of your clients and customers were made in the dark, right? You turned on the ovens at 4 o'clock in the morning so they could preheat by 5 so that they could be donuts by 7 when you open the door. The donuts are made in the dark, man. You put the flour and the sugar and the eggs and the milk together last night so that the yeast can rise, right? That's done in the dark. That's done away from your clients and customers. Your main thing has to be something that you can do over and over again, regardless of who sees you. Deion Sanders has a post that they put the post up and it said, the lights aren't on you, but you still put points on the board. Nobody's paying attention, but you still put points on the board. Nobody cares about your injury. You still put points on the board. The donuts are made in the dark, man.
Yes. That's an interesting way of thinking of it. I haven't looked at it that way, but it makes sense. Hey, I just got comments, and we got one from Bettina Sesto, a good friend of mine. She's asking, what are your 4 questions?
Oh, for coaching, they're a variation of 4 simple questions. Is did you do what you say you're gonna do? So common, I'll do it with you, Chris. Let's say your numbers are you have to hit 100 contacts a day,
Okay.
right? And so we went a full week and we're back. And I'm like, Chris, did you hit your numbers? And let's say you got maybe out of 500 contacts, you only got maybe 450. Most people would be like, well, I got close, this and that. This is a binary answer, Chris. Did you hit your numbers? The answer is no. Okay, second question. How do you feel about that? And you're like, it sucks. I'm like, well, what did you do instead of hitting your numbers? Well, I tried this or I tried that. And this is where we adjust. And I'm like, okay, so what's the plan for next week? And you're like, oh man, I'm not going to do X. I'm going to focus on hitting my numbers, hit all of my numbers, and then I should be able to convert. And then the fourth question is always, how do I help you hit that goal? How do I hold you accountable to it? Right. And so it's, did you do? What did you do instead? Or how do you feel about that? What's the plan for next week? And how do I help you?
Yeah. And oftentimes what do you do instead? It's probably not an income producing activity. Huh?
It's never an income producing activity. There is a role that no one has talked about that is probably a $90,000 a year role. It's CRM manager, right? I spend all this money on my CRM. I put all of my contacts in my CRM, and then I like the little blue ball is just staring in front of me because I don't know how to put together campaigns effectively. I'm not like, what the hell? I'm just push the button and let them do the campaigns, right? I don't know how to market it effectively. I'm like, that's not what my specialty is. My specialty is getting them folks into the CRM, right? A lot of agents spend all of their productive time doing admin work disguised as CRM or disguised as marketing or disguised as advertising. I don't want to do any of that crap. That's not what I'm good at. So I focus on lead gen. It pays for everything else. I make sure that the ratios are good, right? That the revenue outpaces the expenses.
Yeah. As I say, if you don't have an admin, you are the admin.
Yeah, exactly. So I am one of those coaches that will not applaud you for having a great CRM. I don't care about that. I want you lead generating. I want you paying for your leverage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, second, you've obviously been through a lot of market cycles. Mm-hmm. 25 years, you've seen it all. And we've had, a lot of volatility over the last, I don't know, call it 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. It's shaken up a lot of agents, especially ones that haven't been through a full cycle and everything. And a lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are thinking about getting out of the business, or they're thinking about changing brokerages, changing coaches, changing something. Of course, it's never their fault. There's always someone that's going to fix your business. But given what you've seen in the business and what's going on now, what's your best advice for an agent who might be struggling a bit with the changes that we're seeing in the market right now?
Don't hate me for this, Chris.
I won't. I love you.
Don't hate me for this.
I know everything you do is
you have to decide whether you're going to be a cow or a buffalo. Okay, so all the markets are volatile. Every market is volatile if you only do one thing. If you only work with buyers, the market's going to be volatile for you. If you only work with sellers, the market's going to be volatile. You're going to be affected by every little change. The cow and the buffalo analogy is simple. There's, I don't know if this is a Native American thing, but
I know exactly what you're going to say, but go ahead.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, running through the storm rather than away from the storm.
Damn right, man. The Native Americans, they noticed that the cows and the buffaloes are all out on the plains together. And when those storms are coming in the plains, those storms are brutal. In the middle of America, man, there's nothing to block them. There's no mountains, there's no trees. It's just amber graves of wave, the amber waves of grain, man, right? And the cows start running even before the storm gets there, get tired. The storm is going to hit them anyway. And they live through this storm almost 2 to 3 times longer because they've been running away from it, right? And they feel the effects of this thing. The buffaloes turn and run right into the storm, face it, run right into the storm, cut the storm in half, and they're back on the plane enjoying themselves. As an agent, the market is going to shift over and over again. The storm is going to come over and over again. You have to decide whether you're going to turn into it or you're going to try to run away from it. You run away from it by, picking up on these marketing companies, these gimmicks, paying tons and tons of dollars for some craziness that's going to take away your need to lead generate and take away you run into it by asking the tough questions, by facing people who are scared of the market, right? By putting in offers no matter what, right? By getting pre-quals no matter what. The interest rates are higher than they were before, they're volatile, whatever. So what? People still need to live somewhere. And so the questions, it still begs the question, how much house could you buy if you wanted to buy a house? So my advice to agents who are feeling the effects, it's never a buyer's agent. It's never a buyer's market or a seller's market, as far as I'm concerned. It's always a broker's market. It is always your ability to ask the tough questions to get the deals done that make the market. And so I'm going to do 200 deals in any market that is up, down, sideways, whatever. And if I can't do 200 deals, I'm going to get as close as possible.
Yeah. The great thing is that, we could be selling a million different things, but we're satisfying the most basic of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I guess second, like food, water,
food, shelter, and clothing.
Everybody needs a place over their head.
That's right. And the way I see it, man, the real estate agent is the bright, shiny center of the universe. We get somebody into a home, all these little things happen. There's another house that has to have garbage picked up. So there's economics attached to it. There's the garbage man, it's the truck, it's the gas. There's another student in school. There's the teacher. There's the principals. There's the this, that, the other thing, admins. There's another person buying bagels from the local deli. So there's the baker. There's like all of this stuff goes into play when somebody buys a house. And I don't care how powerful you are. You got to sleep somewhere. Right. I mean, I don't care if you only sleep 2 hours a night, in a hyperbaric chamber or whatever the heck you do as a billionaire, you still got to have it somewhere. And that's where your real estate agent comes in.
Yes, I like investing in apartments as well. So I like to say, whether you want to buy or rent, I have you covered.
That's it. I did probably in 2022, I probably did 15 deals. So here's another $1 million worth of coaching. I'm gonna give it away, Chris. Every day. What'd you say?
How am I ever going to afford to be able to pay you back for all this?
Well, these are your folks, man. I hope they're taking notes, and I hope
I appreciate it. I'm sure they did too.
Yeah. Yes. So every day, every single day, I send out no less than 25 gratitude texts. And the text message just says, "Thank you for your support and for trusting me with all your real estate needs." I send it to everyone in my phone, regardless of their viability, regardless of their availability, regardless of their motivation, regardless of whether we've done a deal or not, regardless of whether they're supportive or not. I send it out every day. And every single day, I inevitably get one or two people that turn around and pivot and face me and go, "You know what, man? I was wondering about X, Y, or Z. And so you mentioned whether you want to buy or rent, I've got you covered." The greatest demographic that I have are the people that I know that have not yet purchased, right? And that's the way I see them. They just have not yet purchased, right? And this market, this arena where the interest rates are crazy and prices are crazy and there's not a lot of inventory and this and that is the ideal market for the first-time buyer. And people are like, "What do you mean, Say? You can't find any inventory?" I find inventory every day by just calling up and asking, "Would you sell if somebody made an offer?" So $1 million worth of coaching. Text your people, and say thank you and call folks, your people, your friends that own or whatever, and just say, hey, if somebody made an offer, would you sell to them? And then knowing in your heart that every single list you have, no matter how well you curate it, no matter how much money you spend on it, no matter who's on it, it could be a list of cousins and aunties and grandmas. It's still going to be 90% no.
Well,
And all we
that's
need to
great.
do is go
I,
with it
I can't imagine you could fail long term if you did that consistently every day.
every day. Every day. I did 15 transactions, $150,000 worth of business from the simple gratitude text. Thank you for your support and for trusting me with all your real estate needs.
You must be a busy guy doing all that production and coaching and building a good sized team over at EXP. I mean, how big is your rev share organization nowadays?
I am at 362 or so, give or take. I grow by about 10 agents a month. I lose maybe 1 or 2 agents a month. Realistically, I make all of this stuff available to them, but this ain't for everybody, man. Not everybody swims towards the boat, to use Krem's analogy, right? And so
Right.
I only work with the agents that are swimming towards my boat. Most of my deals, Chris, I'm honest, I'm not doing them firsthand. I've been doing a lot of virtual transactions. They've saved me tons and tons of time. I've been coaching to doing some virtual transactions.
Yeah,
And
I prefer to refer
yeah,
my group as well. So
what's funny, Chris, is that instead of me receiving the 30%, the way that I've been doing these virtual transactions, these virtual deals, is I've been giving them the 30% to just open the door for me and walk through with the camera. It's a whole little thing, man, but it's really cool, man. It's really cool.
It's really cool. Okay, well, hey, we've been on close to 45 minutes, so I guess we're probably running out of time. I've got to get to actually a real estate happy hour before too long. So
let's go.
I appreciate your time. And second, for anybody watching that doesn't already know you, if they want to reach out to you for anything, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
I talk to most of my real estate agents through Instagram. So if you just look up Sekou Pyle, you'll find me. I'm sitting there in a suit on Instagram. But I mean, my phone number is available. It's public. It's 646-285-7388. Send me a text message. Chris, and if they mention your name, if they could spell your name, I know that they know you.
That's funny.
If they mention your name, or if they mention that Wolf, I'll tell you right now, I'll take care of them. I'll take care of them and treat them like family. I got one question before we get off. The golden guitar behind you, brother. Tell me the story behind that, man. What's going on there?
So this is my Paul Reed Smith. It's a DGT, which stands for David Grissom Tremolo. It's one of my favorite guitar players. He's out of Austin, incredible player. And actually, I've got this is my third. It's called a Paul Reed Smith guitar. They're out of Maryland. They're amazing guitars, total wonderful craftsmanship. And the two that I have still just my favorite guitars of all time. I've had them probably each 10, 12 years. I just can't get rid of them. So, I'm sure my son will inherit them, and they're just absolutely amazing. And it's way more guitar than I deserve as a player, but
but you are a player, obviously. I mean, I could hear the passion in your voice.
Yeah, I love playing guitar and everything. I've been doing it since I was 13 years old, and I'm a share of not so great guitars in the beginning. Now I can afford to play what I want, so buy the equipment, and somehow it still doesn't make me sound like the artist who it's named after, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
Well, dude, man, I don't know if you've ever known this.
It's tolerant of my playing, so
I don't know if you've ever known this, man, but my other partner, good friend of mine, I call him my brother, David DeVoe, has a story called you have to ask him the story about the guitar, and it's a story for another day. But just to give you a little teaser about it, it was one of those, I don't know if it's the same one, but it's one of those guitars that they only made X amount of 100 ever. and it's famous and this and that, and he had to sell it to satisfy his mortgage. And the long story short, man, is that he built his business back up and managed to be able to afford being able to buy it back.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, man, it's great, man. Dude, man, I love doing this. We got to do this again. We got to do this more often, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. This was an absolute pleasure, and Sekou, I can't thank you enough. It's been absolute fire. I'm sure that any agent or anybody in any kind of entrepreneurial endeavor that's involved in lead generation got massive value out of this. So thank you for inviting my turn.
I hope so. Only a few seats left if you want. I am incredibly discerning when it comes down to taking clients.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again. Have a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Love you, man. Later.
Bye.